still in school. I have one class left, but if you guys see me back campus, say hi. My name is Lee. I work at LinkedIn as a product manager. Fun fact is that before I worked in tech, I worked for the city of New York and partnered closely with Queens College on some initiatives through the tech talent pipeline. So I've been coming to the campus for different reasons for like 10 years.
We may ditch the mic at some point, so I would encourage everyone to eventually move up so we're not yelling. My name is Charu.
Okay, my name is Charu. I graduated from Queens College in 2019. I will let everyone guess my major at the end of my intro, and I will also explain why that's relevant. But I am currently part of a compliance team at Discover, so I overlook projects that have a lot to do with federal laws, city laws, and state laws. And my background, I actually started off my career straight out of Queens College at Bank of America under the same program that Amalia is a part of. So shameless plug, make sure you look into it. It's called the Technology Analyst Program. And a fun fact about me, you can guess my major. You can just throw it out, it's fine. Business is war, business studies, not real, media studies, not really.
Econ.
Not law, econ, that was actually spot on. I majored in econ and I minored in computer science and BALA, which is a business minor. But to answer a previous question that came up, my background is entirely coding. I have never not held a non-software development internship throughout my life, so that is my fun fact, and then I transitioned into my current role over the last 5 years.
This is like our fourth analyst, she's not here yet, but she also majored in econ and minored in computer science. Okay, so my next question is like, why did you guys choose your current role and how did you like get into it?
Okay, so hello everyone. So I had a software engineering internship my freshman year of college, and I found out what that's like, and I wanted to try something new. My friends had suggested like trying like product management, or maybe like that more. I did some more back-end coding, which is Arduino for another internship. And I think in my first internship I did Java and Python, and then in the second one I did C++. And I was like, this is fun, but like I like talking a lot. So people were like, you should try product. And then when I applied for Bank of America, they don't have a product management role. But in my interview, I expressed that, and they were like, yeah, so the business analyst role is very similar to the product management role. It kind of falls differently because it's a bank. But it pretty much is a similar role, and yeah, that's all I got from my role. And what I do. Yeah, so like for people that don't know product management, like sometimes it's kind of like, it depends on the company, but companies do it differently, but it's like the bridge between like business and technology, so you have to have like a really strong background, especially technical product management, you have to have a strong background in computer science so that you're able to explain to the people in business, who's giving you money, the school funding your project, what you guys are working on, like what the timelines are, what do you think are, like how long do you think certain projects are going to take?
Hi, so Isabella's here now. Wanna like quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, sorry for being late. So I'm Isabella Cooper, but I go by Isa. I currently work at Northwestern Mutual as a technical business analyst. So Northwestern Mutual is a life insurance company, and we have a lot of financial representatives, which most of you may know about. That's our policies. But we also have a home office, which is where I work. And I work with the digital product and the field experience. So I help facilitate and contribute to their website, which is called About the Desktop, which enables you to access electronic data and cost data. And I've been there for about, I would say, a year and a half.
And we're just talking about like how you got to your current role, maybe the path you took, and like why you decided to pursue it.
So I could start on the path I took. Was not that long when I was here. I did just get the job straight out of college, so right when I graduated, I started working, which I was very grateful for, and it was like really hard to get jobs in the technical industry. But for me, when I was in Queens College, I did 5 years. I didn't do like 4 years, and I had a feeling that would happen to me. I did start as a computer science major, and I minored in the BALA program here. But I guess 4 years in, I realized that I didn't want to major in computer science anymore, but I still had a passion for tech. So I made it my minor, and I majored in the media studies program, focusing on marketing and advertising. And I think it was one summer, I just wanted to try something new, and they had their internships on their website, and I applied for it, and I went through like 3 rounds of interviews, and I was able to get the internship. And their internship was actually in Milwaukee, which is their home office. And I thought it was also a perfect way to try something new, and I went to school here, grew up here. So I thought, okay, like, it could kind of be as if I went away to college, but I didn't. I went for an internship. And then at the end of the internship, they offered me a position, and they also have an office here in New York near the World Trade Center. So I was able to accept and work there now.
Yeah, so I can talk about my path a little. So when I moved into tech, I started at a small startup in an operations role. And I actually really recommend working at a startup for folks who are interested in that and you get an opportunity, because being part of a small team and there being just so much work to do and not enough people to do it means that there's always an opportunity to like take on additional responsibilities or learn something new, because the company's like changing too fast for them to be able to like hire for every exact role that they need. So for a lot of people, it can be hard to start a startup when you're like just having graduated, because they don't have like internships or sort of like entry level roles as much. But I think it's something that's like great to do while you're still early in your career, because it leads to all of this, it can lead to all of this growth. And essentially that's what happened for me. So I was working as like an operations manager, and then became like head of operations, and there was no product manager. There were just a couple engineers, a designer, a CEO, and me. And there was no one to do like data analysis of the features that we shipped. So I started doing that. And then there was no one to set goals and create like roadmaps and write product requirements. So I started doing that. And then eventually became product manager and then head of product. And, you know, sort of led the engineering team and the design team. And it just gave me a lot of experience working on a lot of different types of projects in a very short time. Versus, you know, since then I've been at larger companies, and I think I've, you know, projects just take a lot longer. You can spend a whole year working on just, you know, like a couple notifications or something, you know, or one screen, versus like at a startup during that time, we like rebuilt the app and built a payment system and monetization structure and gamification and all those things. But downside startups, they don't always, you know, last that long. So that's how I ended up. The startup I was at, the team was acquired by Nextdoor, which is I know is like a neighborhood, basement for neighborhoods, because the startup was kind of like going out of business. And then I was there for a couple of years, and then wanted to move on to try sort of a different product culture and move to LinkedIn. So it's been good. I kind of had the experience at like a really small startup, like 5 people, a medium-sized company, like a couple hundred, and now it's at like 40,000 people. So, it's been my journey.
I don't think we have to clap after everything. It's kind of awkward. I think maybe that off of what we said, I think one of the most important skills, regardless of being at a startup or in corporate or having your own startup, is having the ability to figure out a pain point and solve it. And that's probably one of the things that's led me to where I'm at in my current role. I started off as at BFA as a business analyst. I'm like, I literally got the crappiest of the crappiest work that literally no one wanted to do. And I think that's what ends up happening when you're just out of college, is you are still figuring yourself out and you're figuring out your skill set. So starting off with like really crappy dirty Excel work. But that was a big learning curve for me because I mastered in that. And then from there, it was like, okay, let's figure out the next problem that I can work on and excel in that. And once you get into the mindset of, okay, what am I doing that is solving a problem on my team or in my line of business? So I started off in global banking and markets like Amalia. And from there, I was there for about 3 years. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I do want to go back to a smaller team. So I switched to a startup where I was there for about 9 months and they went through layoffs. So they completely eliminated our entire team. That's okay, life worked out just fine. And from there, I went on to join Lockheed Martin, which is a defense contractor. And I was there for about 1.5 years before moving into my current role at Discover. And at Lockheed, specifically the role that I did, I managed over 1,000 people within the project space that I was managing. So I supported about 10 programs, upwards of 5 to 10 years in delivery time, going back to what Lee said. So from the moment we would sign on a program, it could take anywhere between 5 to 15 or even a longer time. And the biggest reason for me to switch into my current role is because it was a lateral move and a horizontal move. So what I mean by that is it was an upgrade in terms of obviously the title, the pay, but also the kind of work that I did, because historically all of my roles were more software driven versus this one is software and everything that you can think of combined into one.
Wow, you guys have like crazy journeys, but can you guys tell us now what your current like day-to-day, what you do in your job?
So Matthew, I'll start first. So for me, well, really, so I work hybrid, so I only am in the office 2 times a week, and those days are Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the rest is remote. Usually we have daily stand-ups in the morning, so as a business analyst, I also work a lot with product managers and engineering teams, so the engineers usually tell us like what they're working on, and if there is anything that they need from us, whether we need to talk to our business consultants and gather information for them or other teams. So that's what usually happens in the morning, and usually just, checking on those emails and any messages for me. And my work is really, I would say, flexible, because at my company, they don't really micromanage. It's more of like, if you know you have something you need to do, like, get it done and like set that timeline for yourself. So what I'm currently working on is a lot of different things. There's like a few new life insurance products that will be implemented soon that I'm trying to incorporate into the website that I mentioned that I work on, which is called the Market Desktop. But I'm also working on decommissioning an old platform that my company has. And like I said, this is like my first job, and it's also a very new experience for me. And I will say it is a lot, because I've never like experienced like how am I supposed to go about learning the pros and cons for this platform, and then what we need to take from there and incorporate into our new website. And also we work with the field, and a lot of people have opinions, and they're like, wait, but we want to keep this old platform, and others are like, no, I'm so happy it's going away. So it's just a lot of trying to do a lot of research and talking to a lot of people. What I noticed in my company or my position, one of the things is like really networking and knowing who you need to help you drive your product and experience forward. And that is something that is very key that I have learned in the time that I've been there. So usually do that throughout the day, just talk to a lot of people, do some of my work on my own time. And yeah, I mean, it's very flexible. Sometimes if you end your day a little earlier, you can leave. No one's really telling you have to stay till 5. And also like once a month in my office, we have like happy hours. So they actually have like food beverages at the office, and we also sometimes have a few events. Like recently we had a tech, like Revel and Tech event where they shared what like key industry things that are happening in tech, and you know, as we all know, lately AI is like a big thing. So they talk about that and how they can incorporate that within our company. And they're also part of a HDR called ERG, which is Employee Resource Group. Being here in QC College, I love being a part of clubs, which I was part of those before as well. And so I wanted to continue that passion, and I'm a part of a employee resource group at work as well. So sometimes if I have downtime, I work on the things that I'm doing with that resource group.
My day-to-day is working more because like in the morning. I'm not sure if you guys know what a Scrum Master is, but like it sounds kind of weird. Like the first time I heard it. So like a Scrum Master is basically who leads like the daily stand-up, you know, like make sure like everyone's doing their tasks and like assigning tasks to the people on their team. So in the mornings I have that. Like I lead 2 teams. I didn't really do that, so I work in research at Bank of America, which is basically like there's analysts in the bank that write reports on companies, like how they're doing. So like for example, Apple, like we project like they're gonna do really well because so and so reason. They have these really long reports, and then we have a page where we publish them. So I work with the engineers for that page, and the engineers for the publishing of the reports. So that's what my mornings look like. They're kind of hectic because most of my team is in India, so like the time differences, usually our meetings are like at 8 and 9. Usually after 12, everything kind of calms down. Since I literally I feel like I just started working there, even though it's been like 4 months. There's still a lot of things I have to learn. Like when I started at the bank, like I didn't know like, you know, what is a broker, what are all the banking terms? Like I did not know because I studied computer science. But I had no idea, no knowledge of banks, whatsoever. There's some people, in my program that, studied or, went to business school and things like that, so they kind of already have that knowledge. And I was like, okay, I have, I set, time aside usually, every day, and, I learn some stuff. We have, learning modules, companies have that, we can learn that stuff. So that's what I do. And I've also been involved with, volunteer committees and, ERGs also in the bank, just to, get to know people. Because, when you, network within your own company, you can, move around. I recently got asked if I wanted to still, stay within my team, but, do design. And it's something that, I've always been interested in. And you really need to know. But, if you start learning, Figma right now, which is what we're going to move to use a different design tool, they're really going to join us and we can work on this on the side. So I'm looking forward to that.
So my days as a product manager have varied a lot depending on the size of company that I'm at. So at the startup, we had a project to help people find their lost dogs. There was just sort of everybody was in a room working on it together. So most of our time was spent doing stuff user research or data analysis or writing requirements or troubleshooting. And then the bigger of a company you get to, the more time you have to spend just talking to other people around the company. So now at a big, publicly traded company, it's most of my day is spent in meetings. But essentially, on any given day, I'm thinking about 3 different stages of software development. So one is like the planning stage, like what are we gonna build? Why? Like what is that gonna do for the business? How are we gonna build it? How long will it take? Does it work with existing technology, or are we, gonna need to like introduce a new system? And so that's like very exploratory. That's like talking to a lot of people, talking to engineers, sort of brainstorming and trying to get everyone supportive of that idea. And then there's the execution phase, what engineers are actually building. So, that's, oh, okay, well, like we ran into this blocker, how do we get it unblocked? Or it turns out the way that we plan to build this isn't gonna work, it would take an extra 2 months, what's an alternate way that we could do it? Sort of trying to figure out how do we get as close to what we wanted to build in, the amount of time that we have. And then there's the post-building phase where we've actually shipped a feature and we're trying to do analysis to understand, okay, did it have the impact that we wanted to have? Did it grow revenue or did it grow users? Do people like it? Are they using it? Are there any like bugs that we didn't know? Are we going to roll this out? Or are we gonna say, you know what, this is a failure, let's like roll it back? And then what are the learnings that we wanna take to the next project to like go back to the planning cycle? So on any given day, I spend some of my time planning what's coming next, supporting what's going on now, and doing a sort of analysis of what's already shipped, and then also dealing with kind of whenever bug or growth has come up, oh no, the CEO found like a bug on our part of the product, how do we fix it, like ASAP? Or we just got a new regulatory mandate that means we need to like shift our resources around and change our plan. So every day is really different. In product, it mostly means like talking to people and writing documents, just a lot of communication. And I think in general, like at a larger company, just spending your time communicating and coordinating with people is a lot of everybody's job, even engineers. So that's something to sort of think about if you want to be just sort of like heads down coding all day, sort of asking questions and learning. Like, I think that's sort of like what's the day in the life like is a really good question to think about when you're considering a role.
I'm gonna build on what everyone said, but I do break up my day a little bit differently. So my day starts around like 5 in the morning. So from 5 to 9, that's my time to work on my business. So I do have an event planning company on the side, which is amazing. I love that. That's my passion project. And that's my legacy. Like anyone that knows I went to Queens College knows that my team did hackathons on campus. Like we were the first set of people that did that. And that is my legacy. Maine can attest to that in the background, but that's what I really love doing. So now I've found a way to monetize it. So grateful for that. So 5 to 9 mornings are usually dedicated to my business. 9 to 5 is my day job. About 75% of my time, like Lee said, goes into facilitating meetings. I am the problem very much because I sit in compliance. So every time there is an external regulatory change, it falls on my team to help facilitate that internally. So that could be a change in law, it could be change in how we store data, what's classified, what's not, what can be public, all of that. So if Lee's team gets work, it's me. I am the problem, come back to me. So that's my 9 to 5. I do spend a lot of time on meetings, so 75% goes into meeting time. And then I would say about the next 15% really goes into finding problems that I can help solve. And a lot of times it boils down to finding pain points, which can be improved with automation. So that's what I specialize in general, which is operational excellence. That's my specialty. That's what I was hired for. And the rest 10% goes into learning. Broadly speaking, I do make it a point every week to at least allocate an hour or 2 if I can to learn something about Discover. I've been here a little over 2 months, seems to be working, and of that 2 hours a week, I do try to find once a month volunteer, like a volunteer event at work. And then the non-capacitated work or non-allocated work is ERGs. I'm heavily involved with a couple of our ERGs, so depending on where we are in terms of events, I'll help support and allocate my 5 to 9 window to that. And then from 5 to 9, for the most part, is really winding down, being there for family, and having a good time catching up with friends. So I like to divide up my day into, broadly speaking, 3 different sections, and then I would say like 10 to 5 is when I get a good quality 7-hour sleep. So make sure that as you're going through this phase of life, if there's one thing that you all take away from today, at least from my side, is develop a good routine that works.
To do with like, what's the most important piece of advice you can give to someone looking to enter the tech industry?
So, I mean, I guess for me, my advice, I think for what helped me, especially like I just started out versus someone that have been in the industry for a long time. What helps me is really mentorship. Like networking is something that I did a lot in college with professionals and also just with like-minded students that probably wanted to do the same things that I do. And having a mentor and there's a difference between like having a mentor versus someone that is like advocating for you in those spaces. And so, because I was not really aware about what that industry or what that world looks like the working force, being able to talk to someone about those things and like the path that I'm taking and just to hear them out was definitely very good for me, especially like as women, you know, thankfully now like the force is definitely becoming more women that are into tech and that aren't afraid to go into that experience. I know for me in college, I was always afraid because I always felt not the best in computer science and wasn't sure if it was even the right path for me to take. But also just being able to trust yourself and what you know or what you think is important and valuable to you, and like what you like about that career, and also finding those people or that community, which is what I did with Girls with Code. That was a really impactful community for me as well. And then also having mentors and speaking to people really helped me gain my confidence within the industry and to want to continue. Because I know for me, I would love to continue in tech wherever I go or whatever position I have. So definitely mentorship and like having that community.
I was gonna say the same thing. I actually didn't write it down. So I think the biggest thing for me is like community, because like I think I joined rewriting the code. I think my freshman year of college. It's really similar to Girls with Code. They kind of started building more like the college-based community before Girls with Code. They're a really good community for women. They have like a bunch of programs in the summer. They like invite students to like offices to visit. They just have so many programs and events, and I became really involved with them in their like early stages. Girls with Code is really popular. There's Last Mile Fund offers scholarships to students. I think it's not only women. I think it's like just like low-income students in technology. You should check them out because they have a really good community, and like these are communities that like will advocate for you. Color Stack is really good. I think somebody started a chapter. Yeah, right. Somebody started a chapter here like recently. It's really good. Breakthrough Tech is a CUNY one. That one's like I think open to like everybody in the room. They have like really good. They have really good programs, but also like I think the biggest takeaway is like you'll meet people, you'll network with other students that like will help you along the way. Like I know like you can meet people in your classes and like people in your club, like the Girls with Code club here is like really cool, everyone's really nice. But it's always cool to like get like different perspectives from like students in different schools, different communities, different organizations. Like these people are gonna like advocate. These people like, are gonna advocate for you. Yeah, so like I think through rewriting the code, I went to the Grace Hopper conference, which also, by the way, all the girls here could apply to the scholarship to go to Grace Hopper. It's really good. So through rewriting the code, I went to the Grace Hopper conference, and I went with a bunch of friends that I knew from rewriting the code, and the day before my interview for Bank of America, they were hyping me up. They were like, no, Amaya, let's practice, we have to, they were really hyping me up for my interview, which really helped a lot. We were also practicing for product management interviews because we had lined up for Microsoft or Google. You build communities, people want to study together. It's just fun. People you meet along the way. If you guys know any other ones, I could write them. You guys should look these up. They're pretty cool. Get involved with them. There's Chef, that's for Hispanics. They also have a conference. I think there's Haku, Haku, there's, yes, SWE. This school doesn't have, but I know the CCNY SWE program is really, really big, and they usually go to the conference over here, but they have a bunch. You guys should care. I think sometimes in computer science a lot of people like to gatekeep, but guys don't gatekeep, if we help each other out, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, that's my advice. Join the community. You'll make friends.
Yeah, my advice is similar. It's, I think a lot of times, especially if you're coming from an academic setting, there's kind of this belief, okay, I can just sort of follow the steps, do my coursework, graduate, apply for jobs, someone will call me. A lot of the work to build your career is outside of those steps and outside of the tasks that are written down for you on a piece of paper. Which is hard. I think a lot of us get into technology, and we like computers, and we like this stuff because we're introverts and it's interesting and it's fun, and we like to read. But you have to put yourself out there a little bit, and it's hard. It gets easier the more you do it. My advice is kind of fake it till you make it. I'm not a front of the room person. I get nervous being up here. I'm what does my voice sound like? Am I gonna say something dumb? It's hard. It is hard. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. And beyond getting involved in organizations, my other big piece of advice is make asks of people and take people up on their offers and take initiative. People want to help people who are just starting out in their career. And if they say, yeah, sure, send me your resume, I'll take a look at it. Or if you want to grab a cup of coffee sometime, follow up. They didn't just say it to be nice. And if they did, and whatever, you reach out to them, they don't respond, who cares? It doesn't matter. You haven't lost anything. But a lot of those opportunities come from putting yourself out there, following up with someone, reaching out, even maybe there's not a job posting, but you're really excited about a company. Find a mutual connection, get someone to introduce you to someone who works there, ask them good questions about what they do, be excited about what they do and what the company does, and you never know where it might lead. A lot of times, opportunities, even within a job, don't come from someone putting a posting up. It's more just hey, actually, I love how to learn to do full stack work, or I'm interested in this part of the product, could I spend a little time learning about this, or could you keep me in mind if there are projects that come up that, do this type of, work that I'm interested in. Put out there how, what you want, what you're interested in, people will think of you. So yeah, that's my advice.
Before I answer, I think there was a request from the back that we're not audible, so request to the panelists if we can just speak a little louder. And if you're still having trouble, or if we're just not audible in the back because of the size of the room, feel free to come up. There's a lot of empty seats, especially in the front. So if we're completely not audible, just make your way up. That's perfectly fine. In terms of advice for someone trying to break into tech, I'm going to keep it a little more generic because on average people change careers at least 8 times or more. So I think the first piece of advice is be mindful and reflect back. And what I mean by that is don't just ride don't ride the wave, don't let the wave ride you. So whatever it is that you're going through, at the end of it, make sure you reflect back a little bit. because that will give you insight into your areas of improvement. And I believe, just my belief, you don't have to take it, is if you know yourself well enough, you are situated better to ask for help strategically. So you're not just walking into a room and being like, oh, like I need help. That's not good enough for me. Like I mentor a lot of people, but I'm mindful of like where my energy is going. So I am more likely to mentor someone that has a rough idea of where they're headed. Will that idea be exactly where they end up at as a coach or a mentor? 9 out of 10 times, probably not. But it's the point to take away is make sure you're taking time to reflect internally so you come out of it with some guidance on like, where do you see yourself? So that would be like the first thing. The second is we are our worst enemy. The number of times that I have talked myself out of doing something isn't like the million digits because I was never good enough until like a couple years ago. I'm like, I can't think like that. And I think that mindset shift that I don't have the tools yet is okay. And at that point, what we said earlier, speaking up people in my life that have given me an offer has been an absolute game changer. Like literally, the third piece of advice is always remember and try to use this as your grounding element, is the universe has your back. No matter where you're in life or what stage you're in, the universe absolutely has your back, whether it's a rejection, which is a redirection, or it's an acceptance or whatever your next step looks like, 100% the universe has your back. You just have to be patient enough and hardworking enough to trust the process, which is usually the hardest thing. For example, literally like 2 weeks ago, I was telling my husband, I'm like, one of my goals for my business in the next 2 years is to do like a collaboration with an influencer. Literally 3 days into that thought, something amazing came my way. Like that is exactly, I'm like, this is it, this is what I wanted, and I'm getting it. Turnaround was really quick, I'm not gonna lie, like unexpected, wildly, but I think there's so many redirections that led up to that moment, and what you see and what people let you see a lot of times is the final product. There's countless nights, days that went into that one little thing that you have no idea about, and that would be like my last piece of advice is be graceful to yourself and everyone around you, because everyone's going through something, whether that's professionally, career-wise, family-wise, doesn't matter. I think anyone that you meet on the street, which is the campus in this case, or the literal street, be forgiving. If someone says something, let it be. There is a theory called Let It Be by Mel Robbins. If you have the time, look it up. It is absolutely game-changing.
I have a lot more questions, but due to time constraints, I'm going to open up the panel to you guys. So if you guys want to ask questions, you can, or if you want to come up, feel free to talk to them individually. So thank you so much for answering my questions.
I have a question for Ms. Malia, right? So I remember you mentioned you got a internship, a software engineering internship in your freshman year. So I wanted to see what like resources did you use to get the opportunity?
Yeah, so before Breakthrough Tech was Breakthrough Tech, it used to be called Whitney, and they used to have a Slack. It used to be called Whitney, and they used to have a Slack. That's why it's like really good to join Slack communities. And there was just somebody who randomly posted like, hey, like we're like sending this new like project idea, like we're looking for interns. And I ended up working for Europe. I don't know if you guys also know that program. Europe. I don't think you guys qualify for Europe. I think Europe is for students that just got their like GED or they didn't go to college and they want to start like their career in technology and software engineering. Like I wasn't a part of the program, but I worked for the company that did that program. So that's how I did it. But like it was networking. Then my second internship, I got it because I went to an event and I was talking to a girl, and she went to school like in Illinois or something. I don't know. I forgot what she was, but she was telling me told her to go to CUNY school, and she was like, oh, that's so cool, and then we like connected, and then like whatever, the day ended, and then like, I think like 2 days later, she was like, my dad works for CUNY, and he's looking for somebody like, to like intern with him. And I worked there for 3 years. I worked at the Advanced Science Research Center, which is in Harlem, it's like part of the CUNY campus. And it was pretty cool. They just needed somebody who code. So like it could be anybody you meet. Like this girl, like this random girl that I met, like she was just telling me that her dad works for CUNY, and that was pretty cool. Like you never know what's gonna come your way. So just join as many communities, organizations, talk to people. People are friendly, no gatekeeping, you know. And it's nice to be welcome.
I'm just gonna add to that, you actually do not have to look far for jobs or internships that require you to code. I got my second coding job on campus, working for
Eva Fernandez.
Eva Fernandez at the time, who was the assistant provost. And you don't have to look far, literally look on campus. There are, I can guarantee you, so many positions that are open. So yes, network. At the same point, like, don't overlook what's right in front of you.
What is like a good, like how do we make the next resume so to get internships?
I can speak to that. So for my freshman year, like when I got my internship, before I got my internship, I was like I can see myself doing this now, but like I did a lot of hackathons like my freshman year. Like I was just like, I don't know what like drugs I was not on any drugs, but like I don't know like what I was on, but like I was like, oh my god, hackathon this, hackathon that. Like I was doing hackathons without like knowing anybody. Like you know like sometimes people like make teams and they're like, okay, as a team we're gonna go. No, I would just show up and I'd be like, whoever I meet, I was that person. Yeah, so try to attend hackathons is really, really good on resume. Like even if you know, like the first hackathon that I went to, like I knew very little. Like I knew like HTML, CSS, like that's what I knew, and that's what I contributed to my team. Like I made it link like other people that knew how to do other things, and that's how I learned. Like in the hackathon, hackathons we just have like also like activities to learn different skills and different like, tools. Do programs like with the Code Pass, like they have like their online, like I know some students that are like freshmen, I don't know if they're freshmen, but like if like students that are like freshmen, sometimes they don't take like CS 111, like their like first semester year, which is neat. So like I just try to do like as many things that like I can kind of add to my resume that like would resonate with like jobs that I was looking for. Just build on skills. You never know what skills people are interested in. One of my internships I got just because they were asking me, they were like, do you know how to use GitHub? And I was like, yeah. So they were like, okay, cool. Yeah, so you never know what skills, tools you might need.
And get feedback. There's 4 people up here that I can guarantee you give you solid feedback. So you have a starting point. Leverage the help that we will potentially offer at the end of this section.
How do you manage to avoid burnout as someone managing teams? I'm going to that speak is important, but what if you're like anxious about bored and not able to get this relationship?
I wish I was burned out, but I'm not. I think the success recipe, something that works for me, is not every day and every week will look the same. So sometimes, like if my puppy gets sick, like that needs to be prioritized. Like that's a no-brainer. At the same point, like some days are longer than others. So I think it's just figuring out that balance. And then second is leaning on your village, because burnout can happen just with your 9 to 5. Like I've had 9 to 5s before, and you can just have burnout by just having a 9 to 5. Like you don't need a business on top of that. You don't even need a family on top of that. I think burnout just comes with not having harmony in your life. I don't even call it balance anymore. It's really just figuring out what works for you. And what works for me is seeing my friends, my family, like finding things that fuel me more. So example, like my business, I invest so many hours into it every single week. And this has been more recent, like in the last 6 months where it's been more consistently, is because it brings me joy. Like I'm not running that business to make someone happy. Like if I have 1 client a year, I'll be as happy as if I had 50 clients a year. Like my happiness is not dependent on either my job or my 9 to 5, or like my business. Like my happiness is solely dependent on me. And when you can distinguish that idea that, oh, like I will be happy when I have a job or when my business makes 7 figures, when you can distinguish those 2 things, you'll crack life like 100%. Coming back answer your question, I don't feel too burnt out in general. Once in a while, like at the end of a big event, I'm exhausted, like definitely physically exhausted. And at that point, like I take 24 hours to myself to kind of like reset. But in general, I think the best idea is to avoid burnout. So if you can notice signs about yourself and triggers, like what is triggering your burnout, and you can prevent that from happening, that works the best for me. But I do a lot. So that is usually like my 10 minutes.
Also to like add on just really quick, like everyone's work-life balance looks different, like just the same way people sleep like different hours. I know some people can sleep like only 5 hours and then they're really good. And then I know some other people that like they're like, I need like 9 hours of sleep. So I think like sometimes like I think we like tend to like compare ourselves to like other students, like oh like they're like I know they're grinding so hard, like they're working so hard and doing lead code, like they're like logging in 6 hours or whatever. Like if you can do that, like you don't have to, a work-life balance looks different for everybody. Some people can do it and some people can't, you know. Everyone can take their time, you know. Sometimes we forget that.
The other thing I'd say is like get help. Like if you're not feeling well, like therapy is like my lifeline. Like it's, yeah. No, I think like I had gotten to like a really burnt out stage, and I kept thinking like, oh, like I'm gonna like feel so much better. I just need like a week off. I just need like more sleep, whatever. Like no, I needed to change my mindset, and I needed help doing that from someone who wasn't me inside my head. So having someone, I mean, friends and family are great, but also like there's something that like, you know, a professional can help you reflect, and there's a lot of like resources, especially once you start working, a lot of like healthcare or, you know, sort of like employee programs offer like confidential mental health support, which you don't have to be in a really bad state to take advantage of, but it's better to start before you get to a bad state.
So what's the last question? And then
So this is as a product manager at Liquid, what are the most important soft skills you see as a product manager, and what are the when you talk to people again with like roadblocks and burnout, I know most of your time is allocated into meetings as well. So how do you do to resolve that, making sure that your voice is being heard?
Yeah, okay, so I think the first part of the question is what are the most important soft skills of the job? And the second is like, how do I make sure my voice is heard? Okay. So soft skills, I would say it's really important to like be able to listen and understand like what's driving someone to say what they're saying or to push the thing that they're pushing. Like if I am working on a team and I want to do things one way and the other team wants to do it another way, like why is that? What are they? Is it because, you know, their performance is evaluated based on a metric that's in opposition to my metric? Or is it because they're having a really bad day, or what is it? And then figuring out, I think it's a lot of like people skills and knowing when. LinkedIn has an interesting culture of like escalation, which is like, sorry, this is like a technical tangent, but when two teams disagree, like the process for resolving it, it's called 5-day escalation. Like the teams that disagree write up a document and send it to like their managers, and the managers decide. And when I first got there, I was like, oh, this is really weird. Like this feels very like confrontational and strange, but really it just like drives clarity, and nothing is like personal. So I think like remembering that like nothing is personal, everyone's just here to like do a job, is something that both helps with like my soft skills and helps like make sure my voice is heard. And then I would also say like writing is maybe considered a soft skill, but it's a really important one. Being able to like articulate a point, and like sometimes I have to like rewrite a doc like 4 times, and I get feedback from someone, and then I rewrite it, and it seems like kind of like a waste of time to like rewrite something over and over again. But if other people clearly understand from reading it, breezing through it for 30 seconds on their phone, what it is we're trying to do and why, it saves everybody time in the long run. So I would say like, spend time, get feedback on your writing, use, ChatGPT to help you like write something more concisely, more clearly. And then on the like making my voice heard and avoiding burnout, like this has taken me a long time in my career to learn, but like I have like learned to like advocate for myself. So recently we're doing like planning for the next cycle, and there's sort of like two paths. One path is like a set of projects that like honestly like really stressed me out. And it wasn't work that I like really enjoyed, but I felt like, oh, like it's like the right thing to do to say like, oh, I really want this like high profile, high impact, high stress work. Or there was like this other path of like, this is work that I enjoy more. And maybe it's less likely to like lead to like, a quick promotion or whatever, but it stresses me out less and I like it and I like the people. And I really felt like I should like ask for option A, but like, I realized no, like I should ask for option B. It's what I want and I'm gonna do a better job at it. So like, be true to yourself and really like, to the point you made earlier, know what it is that you want and what gives you happiness and what gives you joy. And don't just like apply for a job or push for a project because it's like what you think you should be doing. Ultimately, you're gonna be successful if you're like really committed and excited about what you're